today, so I make no apologies if I repeat some of what my comrades have already said. I'm incredibly proud to be here at the big meeting today, and I'm almost pinching myself that I'm actually sharing the platform with so many great people and so many of my colleagues and comrades, and especially my boss, our leader, Jeremy Corbyn. Today we're standing on the shoulder of giants. For generations we have been coming here to celebrate our great movement, but today we also honour Davy Hopper and Davy Guy, who did so much for this tradition to keep it alive. Comrades and friends, it's a tradition that means so much to me because today is like coming home. I didn't have the same kind of background as most MPs. I grew up in one of the poorest households on a council estate, and my mum was one of 11 children herself who loved me to bits but couldn't read or write, let alone teach me. So I wasn't ready for school. I wasn't there. I was only attending schools to get my free meal. I left school at 16 pregnant and with no qualifications and no job, and for a while I had no permanent home. I worked as a home carer on a minimum wage and on a 0 hours contract, but of course we called ourselves casual workers in them days. And that is where I first joined a trade union, and being active in North West Unison is where I found the power of solidarity, and is where I got my education. So I wasn't born in Labour, in the Labour movement, but I was made in the Labour movement. Class trade unionist, it was an honour. I never expected to be selected as a Labour candidate, let alone be elected as a Labour MP, and then to be appointed to Jeremy Corbyn's shadow cabinet. But comrades, as a working class trade unionist, there could be no greater honour than to speak at this event today. And what a year we have had. Because this year we have not just with pride in our history, but we have hope for our future. How different it feels just a few short weeks ago. Theresa May underestimated Jeremy. She underestimated the Labour Party, and boy did she underestimate the British public. In her arrogance, she thought that they would hand her a blank cheque, and instead they handed her her notice. She started the campaign warning that if enough people voted for Labour, there would be a coalition of chaos with a weak Prime Minister pursuing extremist policies propped up by a small sectarian party. And now she's trying proving it. Strong and stable is a punchline. Weak and wobbly is now fact. We have a Prime Minister who is no longer running her own cabinet, she's running away from her cabinet. And comrades, the Queen's speech could have been written on the back of a post-it note. And we have a question mark where there should be education policies so that all our young people get the future that they deserve. And you know what, comrades? They were so desperate that they even made the Queen Miss Ascot. They really don't like state pensioners, do they? They're so desperate for friends that today they've resorted to announcing a deal with me. I'm here all afternoon. Because Theresa May got it wrong, but she's still clinging on, trying to hold on to power. She has paid out billions of pounds to money for the support of the DUP's Arlene Foster, the most expensive right-winger since Cristiano Ronaldo. They are now propped up by the people who described homosexuality as repulsive, wrong, vile, immoral, offensive and obnoxious. Well, I tell you what's repulsive, wrong, vile, immoral, offensive and obnoxious. Their hatred and prejudice. They want to save Ulster from sodomy. We want to save Britain from bigotry. And you know, comrades, you know, the Tories in Parliament, they think they're born to rule. And they look at me and they think that I was born to serve. Well, let me tell you, comrades, my job as an MP is to serve our class, not theirs. So our job now is to get May out of the way and a Labour government into office. But not just any old Labour government, comrades. A Labour government that can put in practice that manifesto we stood on, that gave us a message of hope, that beat the Tories and their message of fear. Next time I speak to you, comrades, I want to do it not as the Shadow Education Secretary, but as the Education Secretary. I want to come and tell you how I am making our National Education Service a reality, and I will do it by working with those who work to educate rather than against them, by ending the attacks on teachers and their pay, and not just the teachers but the teaching assistants and support staff who keep our system going. Comrades, education gives us knowledge. Knowledge is power, and power should belong to all of us. And there are so many injustices that have been mentioned that we must address. Last week, we were reminded again of the Hillsborough disaster, with the news that there will now be prosecutions. That would not have happened without the tireless campaigning of the Hillsborough families, and I want to pay tribute to them. But there are other injustices in this country that have been allowed to stand for too long, and we need justice for Orgreave. We need it now. Many miners are still living with the consequences of what happened that day in 1984. All our communities should have confidence in the police, and that's why we need an inquiry into Orgreave. We need the truth to be known and justice to be done. And in 30 years' time, I don't want to be at the Durham Miners' Gala to be hearing speeches about the need for a new public inquiry into what happened at Grenfell Tower last month. Brothers and sisters, our thoughts are with the victims and those affected by this horrific and devastating disaster, and with MATRAC's members in the Fire Brigade Union. We need to ensure that they are equipped to do their job, and that the victims get the help that they need now and over the coming months and years to rebuild their lives. But comrades, that's the very least that we need to do. We also know that we need to know what happened, so that we can make sure that it never happens again. Cutting public spending, cutting social provision, cutting regulation, cutting rights and cutting standards put us all at greater risk. If we want to stop this happening again, comrades, we need to know the role that played in Grenfell disaster. We need to know the truth about Grenfell, and we cannot allow another cover-up. So we need justice. Justice for Hillsborough, justice for Orgreave, and justice for Grenfell. And comrades, justice comes, like all change, only when you fight for it. That was my job as a trade unionist, and it is my job as an MP. It is the same as throughout the history we celebrate today. The Labour movement has for centuries fought for a country fit for working people that we represent. Our movement is as relevant now as it ever was, in our workplaces and in our politics. All that we have got because we fought for it. But there is still so much more that we need to do. So I am proud, absolutely proud. This day has been one of my best days of my life to speak here today to you under the banner of the Durham Miners Association. With the words, the past we inherit, the future we build. Today, let us honour the great history that our children inherit. Tomorrow, let us build the great future that they deserve.